Many of us spend significant time on trains every day traveling to the office and back. Some devote their train time to working, others to putting out bureaucratic fires, and the rest leaf through the daily papers or take a brief nap. But how many people do you know who exploit their time on the train to contemplate the concept of time itself? In 1905, Albert Einstein worked in the government patent office in Bern, Switzerland. He traveled to and from the office by train. There, he said, he conducted imaginary experiments in his head, in which he examined how the speed of light influenced the relativity of time between the moving train car and the people standing on the station platform. He turned his thought experiments into 4 brilliant papers, each of them revolutionary and groundbreaking in its field. The year 1905 is called the miracle year in the history of physics. The 4 papers that were eventually incorporated in the general theory of relativity made the man his physics high school teacher called chronically lazy into an international icon. His face graced the covers of prestigious magazines, and he was treated with honors typically reserved for royalty wherever he went. The most astounding aspect of this is how he has influenced billions. Whenever you type in a Waze destination, set off a sensor-based alarm, remove a hair with laser, or watch the Prime Minister warn you of the Iranian nuclear threat, know that none of it would have happened, for good or bad, without Einstein. And many other varied aspects of our lives are a result of the bounty embodied in the singular genius's inventions and discoveries. After Albert Einstein's death in 1955, a pathologist, searching for the secret of genius, removed, dissected, and ultimately stole the mathematician's brain. When Albert Einstein died of an aortic aneurysm on April 18, 1955, the Princeton Hospital pathologist on duty, Thomas Harvey, removed the great man's brain. Harvey, acting without the family's permission, seemed to think the brainiac's gray matter would reveal the anatomy of genius. If only somebody could uncover it. The star of our current story also valued Einstein's great contribution to humanity. But unlike us, he had direct access to Einstein's brain. The ever-curious Harvey understood that he had been granted a rare opportunity. He was to perform the autopsy on the smartest man in the world, who was also his personal hero. American law in those days had yet to define clear protocol for autopsies. Harvey knew that hadn't much time because Einstein had clarified in his will that "I want to be cremated so people won't come to worship at my bones." While he was still operating on Einstein, Harvey secretly came to a decision. Several hours later, he exploited the cover of the crowd to surreptitiously leave the hospital with his wife's cookie jar in hand. But something other than cookies filled the jar, slimy liquid with whitish flakes floating on top. Harvey kept Einstein's brain in the granola cookie jar for 40 years, guarding the genius's brain with his life. Neither loss of livelihood nor exile from the scientific community caused the pathologist to give up the stolen goods. Harvey used a 35mm camera to take dozens of black and white shots of the excised brain before slicing it 240 times. The man was obsessed with studying his hero's brain. When he gave up on solving the great mystery himself, he decided to send it to scientists in hope that they could uncover the secret of Einstein's genius. A scientist named Marion Diamond received a mailed package from Harvey. The certified pathologist decided to take a different tack this time. He mailed the sampled brain tissue in a mayonnaise jar. When Diamond examined Einstein's sampled brain, she found something interesting. Behind the area of the brain responsible for complex thought and creativity, there was a large number of the specialized cells responsible for holding the brain tissue together called astrocytes, the brain's superglue, if you will. Dr. Diamond's laboratory made thin sections of Einstein's brain, each 6 micrometers thick. They then used a microscope to count the cells. Einstein's brain had more glial cells relative to neurons in all areas studied, but only in the left inferior parietal area was the difference statistically significant. This area is part of the association cortex, regions of the brain responsible for incorporating and synthesizing information from multiple other brain regions. A stimulating environment can increase the proportion of glial cells, and the high ratio could possibly result from Einstein's life studying stimulating scientific problems. The first anatomical study of Einstein's brain was published in 1999 by a team led by Sandra Whitelson, a neurobiologist at McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada. Working from Harvey's photographs, which were all that remained of the whole brain, Whitelson's team found that Einstein's parietal lobes, which are implicated in mathematical, visual, and spatial cognition, were 15% wider than normal parietal lobes. The team also found other unusual features in the parietal region, although some of these were questioned by other researchers at the time. Dr. Dalia Zaidel of the University of California, Los Angeles, examined 2 slices of Albert Einstein's brain containing the hippocampus in 2001. The hippocampus is a subcortical brain structure that plays an important role in learning and memory. The neurons on the left side of the hippocampus were found to be significantly larger than those on the right. And when compared with normal brain slices of the same area in ordinary people, there was only minimal, inconsistent asymmetry in this area. The larger neurons in the left hippocampus, Zaidel noted, imply that Einstein's left brain may have had stronger nerve cell connections between the hippocampus and another part of the brain called the neocortex than his right. The neocortex is where detailed, logical, analytical, and innovative thinking takes place, Zaidel noted in a prepared statement. Dean Falk, an anthropologist at Florida State University in Tallahassee, created another crack in the brain. Working on the same photographs and comparing Einstein's brain with 25 previously published photographs and brain measurements taken from cadavers, Falk claims to have detected some extraordinary features in Einstein's brain that had not been noticed before. There is a distinctive knob-like structure in the part of the motor cortex that controls the left hand. Similar buttons have been linked to musical ability in other studies. Einstein had been playing the violin passionately since his childhood. Like Whitelson's team, Falk found that Einstein's parietal lobes were larger. Comparing photographs of Einstein's brain with a second previously published group of 58 control brains, Falk also detected a very rare pattern of grooves and ridges in the parietal regions of both sides of the brain. Einstein's brain is of unexceptional size, and its combination of a relatively wide and forward-projecting right frontal lobe with a relatively wide and posteriorly protruding left occipital lobe is the most prevalent pattern seen in right-handed adult males. This reveals that Einstein's brain was not spherical. Neurologist Terence Hines of Pace University is strongly critical of the studies and has stated that they are flawed. Hines maintains that all human brains are unique and different from others in some ways. Therefore, assuming unique features in Einstein's brain were connected with his genius, in Hines's opinion, goes beyond the evidence. He argues further that correlating unusual brain features with any characteristic requires studying many brains with those features, and says that scanning the brains of many very capable scientists would be better research than investigating the brains of just 1 or 2 geniuses. He brought out his bags, Paternity says, and in one bag he had a Tupperware container in which he had stashed the brain. Paternity describes the bizarre journey, in which the pair also visited the home of the heroin-addicted poet William Seward Burroughs. In a wonderful book entitled Driving Mr. Albert, A Trip Across America with Einstein's Brain. The book ends with them knocking on the door of the granddaughter, who refuses to receive the brain. Harvey died in 2007. In his will, he donated the remaining brain samples to the local hospital in Princeton, the same hospital from which he stole Einstein's brain. What do you think about this subject? Would you like your brain to be taken and examined after you die? Let's meet in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in another video.